Vlad Dracula is one of the best antagonists of Marvel and is often found in conflict with Deadpool and the vampire hunter Blade. With the superhuman strength and transvection, the character is known to be the Lord of Vampires and is considered to be the most superior among all Earth vampires. Born in royalty, he was initially a Wallachian prince and then became the ruler of Transylvania. Dracula's contact with the gypsy healer is the reason for his cursed transformation into the immortal blood-sucking vampire, but history goes beyond that, so without any further ado, get ready to explore the character depth of Marvel's Dracula. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The origins and backstory of Dracula in the Marvel Universe. In the Marvel Universe, Dracula is also known as Vlad Tepes, and he remains to be on top of all vampires on Earth. He is often in conflict with Blade, the vampire hunter. He is the most powerful of his kind and is considered to be the Lord of Vampires. The character was first introduced in 1972 in Tomb of Dracula by Marvel Comics. The history, however, goes back to 1895 when he appeared in the novel named Dracula, written by Bram Stoker. Though it was not mentioned that he was Vlad Tepes, he surely was battling against the Turks. He, along with his father, belonged solely to Saint Knights. Bram Stoker's literary work is stored at the British Museum and is cherished till date. Vlad is also the father of Lilith and Janus, who are also not ordinary children either. But before we get into that, let's dwell on the Wallachian voivode's origin and where he came from. Vlad Tepes was a fiercely revered and feared warlord who would do anything to win. Due to his specific passion for eliminating his foes, this Transylvanian warlord earned the title of Vlad the Impaler. Born in Schasberg, Transylvania, which was a small kingdom of Wallachia, Vlad Tepes was the son of Vlad Dracul, who was also known as Vlad the Elder. His father and brother were killed by other Transylvanians, and he was forced to marry a Hungarian woman named Zofia. But how exactly did it happen, you ask? In 1444 AD, Dracula's son and father were ambushed by troops of Sultan Murad II, which eventually forced him to keep Turkey in favor. Vlad's other advisors, including John Hunyadi, rebelled against him for the same reason and killed him along with his son. After his father's demise, Dracula had continued with his marriage with utter hatred for his wife and daughter Lilith. In 1451, Dracula decided to devote himself to the mercy of Hunyadi, who taught him how to fight and exposed him to the art of war. Only after a year in the marriage did he throw out his wife and daughter. If you're wondering what happened to them, Zofia ended up taking her own life, and Lilith was raised by Gretchen, a gypsy woman. To avenge his father's death, Dracula attacked Turkey and took many lives. Vlad originally made the decision to confront the Turks after he started having dreams about defeating the invaders. He believed his dreams to be foretelling and ordered his army to do so. However, the real first vampire, Varney, created false dreams and chose Vlad to be his successor. As a result, Vlad's armies were expected to lose the conflict. However, thanks to his superior strategic thinking and abilities, Vlad was able to drive the invaders out. Apocalypse and his Riders of the Dark ruthlessly slaughtered Vlad's army, and Vlad was the only person who made it out of the onslaught alive. He barely survived until the warlord Turak decided to give him a helping hand. Leanda is a Romani healer and vampire who was sent to heal the injured Wallachian prince. She turned the dying Vlad into one of her kind in order to heal him and saved his life. Unaware of his vampire abilities, Dracula was living in one of the villages that Turak ruled. The conflict occurred when Turak and his men brutally murdered Maria, Vlad's second wife. Enraged and emotional by the murder, Vlad then decided to take the lives of Turak and his troops. Varney's support towards Vlad, however, did not stop. He used the head priest's niece's blood, who ultimately defeated Vlad and healed him again. When the zombie king wanted to go after Varney's life, Vlad not only killed him, but also swallowed his blood, thus becoming the ultimate king of the Earth vampires. The incident reflected how Vlad was finally qualified and independent of his kind. Varney was grateful as Vlad saved her life, and witnessing his newly earned qualification to rule among the vampires, she decided to bid him goodbye. Due to his vampire abilities and nature, Varney was aware of the damage that could be caused by direct sunlight, so he made an enchanted casket for Vlad as protection, but he sacrificed his life by walking unshielded into the sun. For many centuries, Dracula ruled supremely over European nations, and he was frequently murdered but never truly defeated because of his supernatural ability to come back to life after dying. Over the course of time, he was up against Abraham Van Helsing, the vampire hunter who relentlessly chased him, along with his friends. In modern times, Dracula has been arch-enemies to Rachel Van Helsing, Blade the Vampire Hunter, and Elsa Bloodstone, the Monster Hunter, among many others. He has also fought vigorously with Deadpool, Hulk, and was also up against the Silver Surfer. With his entry into Marvel, his list of enemies also increased, as he encountered Hannibal King, Doctor Strange, Daywalker, and even Werewolf by Night. However, Blade remains his ultimate and most known nemesis. Dracula in Blade Trinity was a memorable live-action adaptation. Directed by David S. Goyer, Blade Trinity hit the theaters on December 8, 2004. The movie's characters are based on Marvel Comics characters, and Wesley Snipes played the role of Blade, while Dominic Purcell played Dracula. Other cast members include Ryan Reynolds as Hannibal King, Jessica Biel as Abigail Whistler, Chris Christopherson as Abraham Whistler, and Parker Posey as Danica Talos, among many others. Dominic Purcell, who plays the main antagonist in the movie, made his debut in acting in this film. His acting received notable applause from many critics, and the actor gained attention in the industry. After his appearance in Blade Trinity, Purcell was part of the cast in Prison Break, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow, among many other TV shows. He had a career boost after this film, and also won the Best Actor in AACTA award. He was also starred in Blood Red Sky and Die Like Lovers, which once again gained him massive popularity in the film industry. So what was the movie about, and what did Dracula do this time? Well, it all started with a small gang of vampires exploring an old tomb in the Syrian desert that they thought belonged to the original vampire Dracula. They accused Blade of killing a human in order to prevent him from meddling in the matter. Later on, Blade's mentor and buddy Abraham Whistler is killed by FBI agents after they discover Blade's hiding place. Blade, discouraged, gives up and is taken into custody. Meanwhile, the familiars of the vampires made an arrangement with the police for Blade to be delivered to them, but he is saved by Hannibal King and Abraham Whistler's daughter, Abigail. They invite him to join their group of vampire hunters, which is known as Night Stalkers. Blade soon learns that Danica Talos, the former foe of King, has brought back Dracula, or Drake, to life. He did it as an effort to use his abilities to cure vampires of their flaws. Drake is now the first vampire who can endure exposure to the sun, which is highly unlikely for other vampires to withstand. In the meantime, the Night Stalkers have developed a weapon called Daystar that has the ability to genetically eradicate vampires when filled with UV Sundog ammo. However, in order to make it work, they require a source of blood that is pure, since Drake is too strong to be killed by conventional methods. This method could assure that his blood would kill the rest of the species, but they are also concerned that Blade's life will also end because of this. Drake separates Blade from the Night Stalkers in an effort to test him. He reveals that all people, including vampires, are weak in his eyes, and that he wishes to eliminate them from the planet. On the other hand, Abigail discovers a network of blood farms where the blood of brain-dead people is drawn for the vampires to feed on. She intends to use it as proof against the vampires and their plans to subjugate mankind. Blade then kills the one who had been bringing up homeless people for the vampires. He also turns off the life support of the blood farm. If you think this is chilling, the best is yet to come. After Abigail and Blade succeed, they return to Night Stalker's premises just to discover that everyone has been eliminated. The King and Zoe, who is the daughter of Summerfield, have been captured by vampires. Summerfield is the one who created the bioweapon, Daystar, and he left a recording that stated that Drake's blood would be required to activate it. Meanwhile, King is threatened and tortured for information. It even goes to the extent where he is told that he will be turned into a vampire as well, and will have to drink his daughter's blood. Abigail and Blade soon find King and Zoe, and this time, Drake and Blade engage in combat. Drake manages to overpower Blade, and as he prepares to slay him with his sword, Abigail shoots the arrow out of Daystar. Though Drake catches it the first time, Abigail's next arrow wounds him, but surprisingly, Drake dropped the first arrow next to the blade, so he did not miss his opportunity to stab Drake with the Daystar arrow. In contact with his blood, the arrow activates the functionality of the Daystar virus. The virus turns out to be airborne, and it kills all the vampires. Before Drake's death, he manages to transform into Blade, using his shape-changing abilities. This allows Blade to flee and continue his fight against the evil world. If you're wondering what happened to Drake, let us calm the curious cat in you. When the FBI recovers Drake, who died in the guise of Blade, he transforms back to his original deceased form. Dracula and the XMen. The annual gathering of all vampire groups was attended by Dracula every century. The sect leaders of the Anchorite and Atlantis groups voiced their concerns about the spread of humanity on their territory at the meeting. The sect head of Atlantis attributed Dracula's absence of leadership and ability to take control during this critical time. While advancing to his father's kingdom, Dracula's son Zarus remarked that the Atlantean made a valid argument as he had the intention to take over his father's throne. He also claimed and acknowledged that the growth of humans was a concern and that vampire kind shouldn't flee its domain. In response to this, Dracula presented his opinion that humans had their own universe and separate way of life, which should remain the way it is. In conflict, Zarus stabbed his father in the heart and declared that things would change one day. When Dracula tried to drive his traitor son away, the chiefs of the Charneputra, Atlantis, and Nosferatu together attacked him, and it resulted in Dracula losing. He was ultimately cut off by his son Zarus with the sword. Chilling, isn't it? Zarus then presented an offer to the leaders. Either they can support him or get killed. His enemies were soon eliminated, and he took over the title of his father, Lord of Vampires. This clearly did not last long, as he, along with his army, ended up assaulting the X-Men. To get back at him, the X-Men brought back Dracula, who beheaded his treacherous son. His memorable standoff with Hulk. In the 2011 Marvel event Fear Itself, the Serpent, the Asgardian god of fear, who is also known as Null, released 7 hammers of the gods in different parts of the world, and 8 people were deemed suitable for getting the power of the hammers and become the worthy. The hammers are a central element of the storyline, and they played a big role in the event, as they have a significant impact on the characters and the world of the Marvel Universe. The storyline involves a war between the worthy, who use their hammers to spread fear and destruction, and the heroes of the Marvel Universe, who must join forces to stop the Serpent and his followers and ultimately defeat them. One of them was Hulk, who went into a fit of rage and attacked the Vampire King's lair, the Carpathian Mountains. While Dracula commands his followers to find a solution to this problem, Leggett and Janus try to amass everything in their power to subjugate the Green Giant. A group of rogue vampires with immense powers was led by Reizo Kodo. Because they broke into the castle, they were imprisoned by Dracula. Then a report comes in that Hulk is roaming around in the castle, trying to find his new victims. Janus tries to find him, and Dracula begins to regret joining forces with the Forgiven. When Hulk rushes towards the ship, he sees Red She-Hulk, who is telling him to stop, and converts back to Betty Ross. Seeing his wife was the trigger for him to turn into Bruce Banner, who forced the hammer of Null out and threw it away. Then he realizes that it's not his wife, but Inca instead. He storms off angrily while Reizo plans to steal it from the castle that night. In the 2015 animated series Hulk and the Agents of Smash, which aired on Disney XD, there was an episode called Dracula, where the Hulk and his team of Smash agents, including She-Hulk, Red Hulk, and A-Bomb, are sent on a mission to stop Dracula from taking over the world. During the episode, Dracula unleashes an army of vampires on the world, and the Hulk and his team must use all of their strength and intelligence to stop him. In the end, the Hulk and his team were able to defeat Dracula and save the world from his vampire horde by using their teamwork and cooperation to overcome Dracula's power. It seems that this episode of Hulk and the Agents of Smash continues the tradition of the Hulk being a formidable opponent for Dracula, even in the animated series, with the help of his team of Smash agents. Hulk has the upper hand, being one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, and he is immune to vampire bites, making him a difficult opponent for Dracula. Hulk's unique physiology also allows him to resist hypnosis and mind control, making him more resilient in a fight against a vampire like Dracula. It also showcases how they use their unique powers and skills to defeat the Vampire Lord. In the comics, Dracula is depicted as an immortal vampire who is nearly invulnerable to harm. He possesses superhuman strength, speed, and endurance, and is able to transform into a bat or a wolf. He is also able to hypnotize others with his gaze, and can survive on blood alone. He is one of the oldest and most powerful vampires, often seen as the ruler of vampire kind. This storyline shows that while Dracula is a powerful and dangerous vampire, he is not immune to defeat when it comes to someone as powerful as the Hulk.
After them!
When Spider-Man battled Dracula in the Marvel Animated Universe. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends is an animated television series that originally aired in the early 1980s. The show featured Spider-Man as the main character, and his friends Iceman and Firestar as supporting characters. One of the episodes of the series is called The Bride of Dracula, which aired in 1983 as the first episode of Season 3. In that episode, Peter Parker, Bobby Drake, and Angelica Jones, aka Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar, respectively, go on an adventure to the icy lair of the undead, Transylvania. Angelica gets kidnapped by an attractive stranger who wants to take her to Transylvania on a private black jet. This makes Spider-Man and Iceman very anxious, and they follow her quietly on a commercial plane. In the jet, the stranger reveals himself to be Dracula, and that Angelica is supposed to be his bride. She is put under hypnosis while the vampire and these two superheroes fight it out. Werewolf and Frankenstein also join the fight in the end, but Firestar is revived by a concoction made by Spider-Man. She burns everything down and brings sunlight back into the castle, reverting everything to its normal state. In the 2013 animated series, Ultimate Spider-Man, the Howling Commandos are depicted as a special unit of soldiers working for S.H.I.E.L.D., led by Nick Fury. The team consists of characters such as Dum Dum Dugan, Gabe Jones, and Rebel Ralston. The Howling Commandos are shown to have a close working relationship with Spider-Man and S.H.I.E.L.D., and they often work together to fight against various threats. In the series, the Howling Commandos are shown to be skilled soldiers who are well trained in combat and are able to take on a variety of enemies, including Hydra and other superpowered villains. They are also shown to be a tight-knit group with a strong sense of comradeship and loyalty to one another. Nick Fury, the leader of the Howling Commandos and director of S.H.I.E.L.D., occasionally works with Spider-Man, giving him missions and training him to be a better hero. The Howling Commandos play an important role in the series, often providing backup and support to Spider-Man and other heroes in their fight against evil. They help in many episodes where the threats are too big for Spider-Man to handle alone. The time when Deadpool stole his wife. Deadpool is known for his fourth-wall breaking humor, pop culture references, and his tendency to break the conventions of traditional superhero comics. He often addresses the reader directly, and is aware that he is a fictional character in a comic book. Deadpool is also known for his eccentric behavior and his tendency to use violence and humor to solve problems. He is highly skilled in various forms of combat and is a master of various weapons and firearms. He also possesses the advanced hand-to-hand combat skills and is an expert in infiltration and disguise. The character of Deadpool has been portrayed as both a villain and an anti-hero in the comics, depending on the story and context. He is not above crossing moral lines for personal gain, but he can also be a force of good, fighting against injustice and oppression. He is a highly skilled assassin who is also mentally unstable. This gives contrast to his character and makes his comics more interesting. So what happens when he steals the wife-to-be of the undead king? Chaos ensues. Dracula's Gauntlet is a limited series comic book published by Marvel Comics featuring the character of Deadpool and the vampire Lord Dracula. In Dracula's Gauntlet, Dracula commissions Deadpool to carefully bring a new package for him from New York. Dragging through the subway, Deadpool doesn't yet know that he is in fact carrying the sarcophagus of Shikla, the heir to Monster Metropolis, and the coffin opens suddenly. Shikla, being awake now, helps Deadpool fight off various groups of enemies who don't want the marriage to happen. Along the way, Wade being the charming, sarcastic man he is, Shikla falls in love with him, and they plan to elope together to get married. After learning this, Dracula is immensely angered and reprimands himself that he employed such a fool. He attacks Deadpool to get his bride back. A fight ensues between the two of them, and Deadpool gets his hand cut off literally, but he manages to stab Dracula with his severed hand and injects some of his poisoned blood into the vampire king. Defeated and weakened, Dracula escapes, and Shikla finally becomes the queen of Monster Metropolis. Throughout the series, Deadpool faces many challenges and obstacles. He not only has to fight with the vampire lord and his minions, but also has to deal with his own inner demons, as well as his own past. The series also explores the relationship between Deadpool and Shikla as they find themselves falling in love while they are stuck in a gauntlet where they are fighting for their lives. The comic generally received positive reviews from critics and fans alike, who praised the series for its blend of humor, action, and horror, as well as its unique take on the characters of Deadpool and Dracula. Dracula in the Rise of the Vampire Nation story arc. In the comic book series, Rise of the Vampire Nation story arc, Dracula is portrayed as the leader of an organization known as the Vampire Nation that seeks to unite all vampire kind and establish them as the dominant force in the world. The story arc is set in the modern era, where Dracula is shown to have been manipulating events from behind the scenes for centuries in order to achieve his goal. Throughout the arc, Dracula is shown to be a powerful and charismatic leader who commands the loyalty of his followers through his his strength, cunning, and manipulation. He also possesses all the classic powers of a vampire, such as immortality, superhuman strength, speed, the ability to control minds, and the ability to turn others into vampires. The arc also explores the personal story of Dracula, where he tries to find redemption for his past actions as a ruthless leader as well as a father. He seeks to reconcile with his son Zaris, who was turned into a vampire by him and assumes the identity of Shadow Colonel and commits genocide in the name of bettering the population. The government gave Chernobyl to Dracula, assuming that he won't be able to survive there, but they didn't know that he couldn't die for such reasons. He reunited with the Legion of the Unliving and re-established his vampire kingdom anew. He is shown to be the one who unites all the vampires, just as how Charles Xavier did to all mutants. He hires Omega Red to steal some of Wolverine's blood from Paris and injects it into his blood, gaining the ability to walk in daylight without getting obliterated by the sunlight. The Rise of the Vampire Nation arc features many other characters from Marvel Comics such as Blade, Morbius, the Living Vampire, and other vampire characters, as they all fight against the rise of the vampire nation led by Dracula. The series explores themes such as leadership, redemption, and the consequences of power, while also providing action-packed battles and exploration of the vampire mythology in Marvel Comics.
Wow, you need new headshots, Drac. You look nothing like your pictures. Don't!
Marvel's Dracula is way more powerful than you can imagine. With superhuman strength, agility, and reflexes, Dracula is the strongest Earth vampire. He holds the power to dominate many natural phenomena, including the ability to call forth storms and control smaller species such as rats, bats, and wolves. Only the strongest minds will be able to withstand Dracula due to his extremely potent hypnotic abilities and memorizing skills. His will is essentially unbreakable, and he is immune to any form of will-controlling abilities. The status of Lord of Vampires was not achieved in a day. Due to his strong invulnerability against the mind and will control, Dracula even withstands a close-range mystic energy strike from Doctor Strange before eventually collapsing. It is a testament to Dracula's abilities that he was able to employ mental suggestion on Doctor Strange, tricking him into believing he had killed the Vampire Lord, saving Dracula from certain oblivion. He also holds immaculate power over lesser vampires and turns them into an army. Dracula prefers to use something other than his bare hands, and it is mostly a range of knightly weapons from the 1400s. He utilizes these with ferocious and gory efficiency, occasionally even scoring metal as they increase his strength. Not just this, he also possesses shape-changing powers that allow him to turn into several different animals. Though he prefers to shape-change into a normal-sized bat, he can also transform into a giant-sized bat that is 6 feet wide and also a half-human demon-like bat. His healing factor accelerates when he drinks fresh blood from humans, and it also helps him recover from any kind of physical wounds, including magical damage. To draw blood from humans, Dracula uses his fangs and claws like any other vampire. He also possesses the art of hypnotism, where with a gaze into the victim's eyes, he can control their mind and actions. If you're still not impressed, the Lord of Vampires has control over the Earth's elements. Though it is not extremely strong, it is enough to be up against Thor and Storm. His immortality is also one of his strongest assets, and he has regenerated after being killed over many centuries. But like every other vampire, he also has a handful of vulnerabilities. How can Dracula be defeated? Starting with the obvious sunlight and fire, Dracula cannot withstand being exposed to the sun and fire, and it would instantly turn him into ashes. Alongside any religious icons also affect him. This includes the Star of David, the crucifix, and so on. However, it is not the size of the icon that can affect him, but the holder's faith in the religion that the icon belongs to. The Lord of the Vampire is really endangered by any weapon made of silver. His healing factor works extremely slowly after being attacked by any silver weapons. His powers also weaken after he manipulates the weather. Dracula's greatest weakness, however, remains to be his need to consume freshly drawn blood to maintain his energy. With that, we come to the very end of the video. If you liked the video, do tell us the top 3 abilities that Dracula possesses that you think is really cool. Don't forget to smash the like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, toodaloo! And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.